Welcome to Crisis and Capital, the channel where global conflict meets financial consequence. Here, we decode the complex intersections of war, power, and profit. In today's episode, we turn our focus to one of the most impactful confrontations of our time, the Russia-Ukraine war. We'll break down the latest developments, strategic shifts, and financial consequences so you can stay informed and ahead. If you find value in this analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more insights into where crisis meets capital. 10. The rebirth of NATO. At number 10, we begin with something few expected just a few years ago: the revival of NATO. Before the war, the alliance seemed sluggish and politically divided, but Russia's invasion gave NATO a new sense of urgency and unity. Countries that once hesitated are now actively strengthening their defense commitments. Sweden and Finland, long neutral, have joined the alliance, expanding NATO's reach further into the Arctic and directly along Russia's border. Meanwhile, NATO members are increasing military spending and participating in large-scale joint exercises. The war has breathed new life into an old alliance, proving its relevance in an age of renewed military conflict. 9. Europe's energy transformation. At number 9 is one of the most profound shifts in recent European history: the move away from Russian energy. Before the war, Russia supplied more than 40% of Europe's natural gas, but after the invasion, Europe had to act fast. Massive investments were made in liquefied natural gas terminals, renewable energy projects, and new energy partnerships with countries like Norway, the US, and Qatar. Germany, which once heavily relied on Russian gas, is now racing toward energy independence. This realignment has weakened Russia's economic leverage while accelerating Europe's green transition, a geopolitical and environmental shift all in one. 8. Global food security crisis. Number 8 highlights a silent victim of the war: the global food supply. Ukraine and Russia are both major exporters of wheat, corn, and sunflower oil. But with blockades in the Black Sea and damaged Ukrainian farmland, food shipments plummeted. This had devastating effects, especially on vulnerable nations in Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, many of which rely on Ukrainian grain. Prices surged, shortages worsened. The war triggered a global food crisis, leading to political instability in several countries, from Haiti to Egypt. In this war, hunger became a weapon, and the world is still grappling with the consequences. 7. A new Cold War mentality. At number 7, we're seeing a return to Cold War dynamics, not just in rhetoric, but in real-world divisions. Western democracies, led by the US and the EU, are pitted against an emerging authoritarian bloc that includes Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. This ideological split affects diplomacy, trade, technology, and security. Countries are being pressured to pick sides, military alliances are growing, and sanctions are being weaponized. The global stage now mirrors the Cold War, only this time, the battlegrounds are economic systems, information warfare, and digital surveillance as much as military power. 6. China's calculated watching game. At number 6 is China, the silent observer with strategic intent. While officially neutral, Beijing has subtly supported Russia through increased trade, diplomatic cover, and joint military drills. But China is watching closely, especially how the West responds and how sanctions impact the Russian economy. The lessons China takes from Ukraine may inform its own approach to Taiwan. Will the global community unite against aggression again? Or will divisions paralyze meaningful action? The longer the war drags on, the more China studies every move, preparing for a future moment when it might test the global order itself. 5. Sanctions as a double-edged sword. In the 5th spot, we look at economic warfare, the vast network of sanctions placed on Russia. The West froze Russian assets, banned tech exports, cut off banks from SWIFT, and targeted oligarchs. The goal was to cripple Russia's economy and force a political change. While sanctions have hurt Russia, they have also reshaped global trade. Moscow turned to alternative markets in Asia and started developing payment systems outside the Western financial sphere. This is accelerating the de-dollarization trend and fostering a new multipolar financial system, where the dominance of Western institutions like the IMF and World Bank is increasingly questioned. 4. The weaponization of technology and cyber warfare. At number 4 is the hidden battlefield, cyberspace. From the very beginning of the war, Ukraine has been under relentless cyber attacks targeting infrastructure, banks, and government systems. Russia has used hacking groups to disrupt communications and spread misinformation globally. But Ukraine, backed by Western tech giants and cyber agencies, has pushed back effectively. 3. Shifting military doctrines worldwide. The third point focuses on how the war is changing how militaries operate. Western nations have closely studied Ukraine's resistance, from the use of drones and mobile units to decentralized command and advanced surveillance. Nations are now investing more in drone warfare, cybersecurity, and next-gen military tools. The US, France, the UK, and others are redesigning strategies to reflect the kind of hybrid warfare seen in Ukraine. 2. Ukraine's global repositioning and national identity. At number 2, we turn to Ukraine itself. Before the war, Ukraine was often viewed as a former Soviet republic caught between East and West. But the invasion changed everything. Ukraine has emerged as a symbol of democratic resistance and resilience. President Zelensky's leadership turned the country into a moral center for global attention. International support, military aid, and diplomatic outreach have repositioned Ukraine as a key European player. Its path to EU membership, once uncertain, is now being seriously considered. 1. A fragmented world order, the new global chessboard. And finally, at number 1, the biggest impact of all, the fragmentation of the global order. The war has shattered the post-Cold War belief that major powers wouldn't invade their neighbors. It reveals the fragility of international law, the limitations of diplomacy, and the willingness of nations to prioritize power over peace. The UN Security Council is paralyzed. Regional blocs are gaining strength. Rival alliances are forming, and the world is no longer moving toward unification, but polarization. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, subscribe to our channel before you go. Thanks for watching.